Every single day, there is more and more bad news for this orange criminal. He is an absolute disaster, and he is destroying his presidency. He is going down in flames. I know a lot of people are very worried. I myself am worried about the direction of this country. I'm worried, as you are, because we know what this man wants to do. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be in power for life. He wants to utterly destroy the Constitution and the rule of law. So we are justifiably worried about that. But with each passing day, I am more and more optimistic that this man is going to fail spectacularly. I think this is all going to end very, very badly for Donald Trump. Now, the way I want it to end, and what I think is possible if we do what we need to do politically, is that this man can be impeached and this time removed from office and then prosecuted for his crimes. He is committing crimes left and right. I've lost track of how many crimes he has likely committed since becoming president again. And I know there's a horrible decision of the Supreme Court giving the president a great deal of immunity from prosecution, but even that opinion will not shield him from many of the crimes he has committed. And I bet you there's a bunch of crimes we don't even know about. But before we get there, let us do the work we need to do to drive this man's poll numbers into the dirt. You watch his political power evaporate the lower his poll numbers go. And they're going down. And they're going to only continue to go in that direction because he is such a disaster. And the one thing he will not be able to escape is the economic damage he is causing. And there's every single day you wake up, you look at the news, and there's more evidence of the economic destruction. But before I get to a couple examples in the news today, I want to turn briefly to what an absolute scumbag this man is. His narcissism, his need to be the center of attention, knows no limits. As you probably know, he's attending the Pope's funeral. And of course, he can't just go there and be a respectful, dignified person because he is incapable of that. So I'm going to show you a picture here of world leaders at the Pope's funeral. They're dressed in black, as is the appropriate required attire for this occasion, all except for Donald Trump, who chose a different color for his suit. So let's see what he's wearing. There he is. I posted this photo to the Romano Report on Facebook earlier today. By the way, if you are on Facebook, please follow the Romano Report. There he is. He chooses a bright blue suit so that he can stand out from all the other world leaders who are appropriately dressed in black. Now, for those of you who might be ready to give this man the benefit of the doubt based on his stupidity, and there's no doubt this man is stupid. He is a buffoon. But there is no way that no one in his administration, especially from the State Department, would not have advised him about the proper dress for the Pope's funeral. So he knew that he should have worn black, but he didn't, because he wants to stand out, because he's better than everyone, because the rules don't apply to him. He needs to be different, and he needs to be the center of attention. The man is pure scum with absolutely no class whatsoever. He is joined by his wife, who hates him, right next to him, and she's in all black. She obviously knows what the attire, what the protocol is for attending the Pope's funeral. She knows. She couldn't tell him to wear black? Of course. He knew full well, but he doesn't care. He's an egomaniac. He's a narcissist. He is a dirtbag. Okay, now on to the really bad news for him, and that is the economic destruction that he has wrought. So let's take a look at the Wall Street Journal, a publication owned by Rupert Murdoch, a publication which is increasingly publishing negative articles about Donald Trump, a man they supported for president and now clearly regret. Anyway, American consumers serve up bleak outlook on economy. The University of Michigan's closely watched sentiment index fell to its lowest level ever among Democrats and independents, but the truth is it is falling across all groups. I'm not going to read this article. You get the gist. But of course, the Republicans will lie to pollsters, even if they have a bad outlook. If they're sour on the future, if they're sour on the economy, they're not going to tell pollsters this to the degree that Democrats and independents will, because they want to cover for this man. But they are in just as much economic danger from this man as everyone else. They go to the same grocery stores, pay the same increasingly expensive prices for everything in those stores. They buy products from around the world also, all of which are now more expensive thanks to the tariffs. So that number will continue to rise. Things are only going to get worse for this guy. And as they do, his support erodes and his political power along with it, especially the closer we get to next year's midterm elections. Here's another one from the New York Times. As recession fears rise, no buy takes on new urgency. The uncertainty surrounding President Trump's tariffs has invigorated an underconsumption movement that took off early this year on TikTok and other platforms. So what this is talking about is because of the inflation, which now is getting worse, because of the realization that this man's promises were bullshit, that he's not going to make everything less expensive on day one, as he has not. Things have gotten worse. And as people find themselves in worsening economic and financial conditions, there has begun a movement to not buy anything that isn't an absolute necessity. This movement has picked up steam on social media, especially on TikTok, which is a big deal because a lot of people are on social media and more get their news and information and what they think about what's going on in this country from social media. And this movement has really taken off, encouraging people not to buy any more than is absolutely necessary, which is going to decrease economic activity, and it's bad for the economy. But this is the logical result of what's going on in this country. Okay, you don't need a movement on TikTok for people to come to this realization themselves. They can see the money that they have coming into their household. They can see how expensive everything is right now and getting worse. And they're going to make this decision themselves. We have to spend less. Maybe we don't go out to eat this week. Maybe we don't buy that thing that we don't absolutely need. But the fact that this is also a movement that's taking off on social media just shows you how many people are feeling the financial stress and pressure from what's going on here. Okay, here's another one. Let me move that over a little bit. Product shortages and empty store shelves loom with falling shipments from China. Businesses have been canceling orders for products from China after Trump imposed a 145% tariff on most Chinese imports, risking product shortages for American consumers. the thing that's important about this is that the true damage that will be caused by Trump's tariffs have not yet been realized. Not fully, not even close to fully. There's going to be real shock in the economy. People are really going to be shocked when they go to the stores and find that the things they normally purchase are not even there, or that are so prohibitively expensive that they can't afford them. You know, these tariffs are still, they haven't been in place all that long. And lots of stores, lots of companies have inventory of goods that were purchased without the tariffs. And so they are still able to offer these things without having to increase prices, hoping that Trump will reverse all of these tariffs. Well, it's not happening. And as these inventories dwindle and they have to replenish their inventory at the higher prices because of all these tariffs, a lot of these companies will decide not to purchase these things, and decide not to many of these companies will decide not to restock, resupply their inventory, because they know that the prices that they will have to charge given these tariffs, they're going to take a bath on them because consumers aren't going to buy them at these inflated prices. So many of these inventories of certain goods will not be replenished. And so these things will not be offered for sale. Other things will be offered at much higher prices because these companies have had to purchase these goods at much higher prices thanks to the tariffs. And those, of course, contrary to what the morons who voted for Donald Trump seem to believe about tariffs, those costs of the tariffs are obviously and naturally going to be passed on to the consumer. Here's another one. Oh, let me move it over there. We go. U.S. dollar poised for worst first 100 days of presidency since Nixon. Trump's policy initiatives have also increased the risk of a U.S. recession combined with reaccelerating inflation. Every single economic indicator out there is bad news. Bad news for the economy, bad news for the American people, and as a natural result, bad news for Donald Trump. And again, as we get closer to the midterm elections, Republicans are going to realize that this man is an anchor around their political necks. And as his approval ratings continue to fall, as I believe they will, a lot of these Republicans will begin to realize that Trump is a political liability. And they will begin to distance themselves from Trump. Not all of them. Some of them are in very, very deep red safe districts and states. And so they don't need to distance themselves from Trump. In fact, it will be, political, it will do political damage to themselves to distance themselves from Trump because they are in such, Trump cultish districts and states. But not all Republicans are in such districts and such states. And for those people, it may become more and more obvious to them that it is politically necessary for them to abandon Trump. So, something to keep an eye on. Anyway, this man is an one more. I got one more. How about this? Most Americans are financing groceries with buy now, pay later loans, and more are paying those bills late. Not good. Growing number of Americans are using buy now, pay later loans to buy groceries, and more people are paying those bills late, according to new LendingTree data released on Friday. The figures are the latest indicator that some consumers are cracking under the pressure of an uncertain economy and are having trouble affording essentials such as groceries as they contend with persistent inflation, high interest rates, and concerns about tariffs. This man is a disaster. He's always been a disaster. This man is an idiot. He always has been an idiot. The damage to this country will continue as long as he is in office. People are beginning to wake up to that fact, and more of them will as things continue to get worse. And as bad as things will get for all of us, in that there will be political opportunity for those of us opposed to Trump fascism, those of us who stand for democracy and the rule of law. There is great political opportunity for us to fight back, for us to win back both houses of Congress in a big way next year, and to impeach this man and remove him from office for his many crimes, and then hopefully to prosecute him and send him to prison where he belongs. But first things first, as he destroys this country, we need to do everything we can to wake up the American people to the disaster that this man is. The good news is that he's doing a lot of the work for us because he is a disaster and because he is an idiot. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again soon.